So we're on lesson 6-4. We are skipping 6-3 for now. So we're dealing with writing linear equations like we have been in the past. But this time, we're writing it in our new, well, I shouldn't say new because we looked at this last year, but the new one for this year is Slope-Intercept Form. So how many of you remember Slope-Intercept Form? Okay, yeah, you should because we did go over it pretty extensively, but if you didn't, which is okay, we'll definitely go over it again. All right, the word intercept. What does that mean to you guys? What does intercept mean? And just think of it not even mathematically, but just in other applications. Jack? Okay, yeah, so football, it's funny, I didn't even think of that one right away. Interception is where it is going one way and it gets stopped at a point, right? And then probably go the other way, unless there's a flag or whatever. Anything else with interception or intercept? Yes? Okay, when two things meet up, they're intercepting each other in a sense. Have you guys heard about intercepting missiles? Yep. When a missile is launched and you send an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, it intercepts that other missile and it causes it to explode not where it intended to go, which is, well, that I don't know all that, and really we have to consider those costs. Yep. Intersection. Oh, intersection. So that's a little bit different from intercept, but I would say that inter is that prefix inter does have a relationship with intercept. All right, let's look at a graph. How about this? Let's just draw a graph. It doesn't have to be perfect, but go ahead and draw me the coordinate plane. Quadrant 1 is the highlighted quadrant, and you only have to go a few, say like 4 up and 4 over. And I want you to give me these points on that graph, 2, 0. So the coordinates 2, 0. Can you put that on the graph? And label it 2, 0, because we're going to use that for some info here. And then the second one, 0, 3 halves, or 0, 3 over 2. What does that mean? Yeah, 0, 1.5. But write it as 0 and 3 halves. So that's the second point. And actually, I need to write it a little bit lower. Right over here. 0 and 3 halves. All right. How many points do you need to determine a line? 2. Do we have 2 points here? Go ahead and cut 3 halves would be 1.5. Go ahead and connect them. Whew. Almost worked. All right, we're going to refer to this little. It's actually in your book, but I wanted you to have it on your paper, and then I can point it out up here. Okay, intercepts. There are 2 intercepts that are shown here. There's a Y-intercept and an X-intercept. Okay, so what I need you to do here is write X-intercept. And give some space, and underneath it write Y-intercept. And all that really means is if you're looking at my line, where does my line, so this line right here, cross the y-axis? Where does it cross the y-axis? Jack? It crosses right here at 0 and 3 halves. So the y-intercept would be 0 and 3 halves. Okay, that's the y-intercept. Does anyone know what the x-intercept would be? Where does this line cross the x-axis? Nate? 2, 0. So I'm going to put that up here, 2, 0. What do you guys notice about the x and y-intercepts? There's something about their coordinates that I need to be able to at least see right now. You notice anything about their coordinates? One number is always going to be 0. Okay, ready guys? Your x-intercept has y equaling 0. Your y-intercept has what equaling 0? X. That's interesting. In fact, there's a general form for an x-intercept. It's always going to be written, if you have an x-intercept, x comma 0. X is going to stand for some number that's on that excuse me, that's on that coordinate plane. And then the general form for the y-intercept is going to be 0 comma y, where y stands for a y coordinate on that coordinate plane. Okay? That's very nice. Okay. Why in the world would I even need to know this? Well, let me ask you this question once again. How many points do you need to determine a line? 2. If you knew your x-intercept and your y-intercept, could you find the line? Or could you graph the line, I should say? Could you graph it? Yes. Okay, interesting. Let's look at example number 1. Let's see how this works. Okay, example 1. Harrison, can you read me the instructions to example number 1?
Find x and y intercepts of the graph of 3x plus 4y equals
3x plus 4y equals 6. All right. So what do they want in this problem? They want me to find the x and y intercepts. Okay. Now, there are 2 ways to find it out. Just go ahead and graph this line. So how do we graph it now? Like, what's one method we can use to graph this? Solve for y, put in some x values, put in the dots, get the line, you can find them there. But there's another way to do it, and it's just by using this equation. Okay, do you remember on x-intercepts, what does y always equal? 0, right? So what you're going to do here to find the y-intercept, so we'll do the y-intercept first. You can do either one first, it doesn't matter. To find the y-intercept, I know it's going to be 0y, right? It's going to be in that form. So what should I make equal 0? I should make x equal 0. So what I want you to do is I want you to put in 0 here and solve for y. So 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 6. So basically what I'm asking is if x equals 0, what does y equal? Well, let's figure it out. I'll just skip that step there because I got canceled out. Let me get y equals 3 halves when you solve it. Did you guys get y equals 3 halves? Okay. 3 halves is my y-intercept. Okay, that's interesting. Hey, have you seen 3 halves somewhere before? Where have you seen 3 halves before? Oh, look at that. What's the y-intercept in this graph? Yeah, it's 0 and 3 halves, or you could say 3 halves. Okay, that's interesting. But that might be coincidence. All right, let's find the x-intercept. Does anyone know how to find the x-intercept from the equation? Yeah, make the y equal 0. So if we're back to our equation, 3x plus 4y equals 6. Instead of making x equal 0, I'm going to make y equal 0. That's to find the x-intercept. I know that seems somewhat unintuitive, but it's not. So that's what you're doing. That's the problem you're doing to find the x-intercept. All right, how many of you get x equals 2? Good. So you know what my x-intercept is? What are the coordinates of my x-intercept? 2, 0. Whoa. Deja vu. Do you remember that? It's right here. Okay. If the y-intercept is this, 0, 3 halves, and the x-intercept is 2, 0, does anyone know what the equation of this line is in standard form? No. Oh.
3x plus 4y equals 6.
Okay, I can graph this line by finding their x and y intercepts. If I can put those on the graph, connect the two together, I have my line. Isn't that nice? Do this. Okay, that's one method of graphing we're going to look at. We're not actually going to graph in this lesson, thankfully, but we are going to be able to figure out what we use to graph these lines if we need to, which we will tomorrow. Okay, let's look at page 350. I'm going to make sure you guys get this. Page 350, a couple pages up, and then work on number 8. It says find the x and y intercepts of the graph of each equation. So number 8. I want to find the x and y intercepts. So number 8, they give me 3x plus 4y equals 24. All right, to find the x-intercept, what do you do? Jenna? Make the y equal 0. So I'm going to do 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 24. Make y equal 0. Okay, so that's there. So I get 3x equals 24. Divide both sides by 3. I get x equals 8. So what are the coordinates of my x-intercept? 8, 0. Can I graph that, by the way? Like, can I graph 8, 0? Yep, you guys have done that. You guys can do that. And I'll box it in so we know what the answer is. All right, and the y-intercept. How do I find that y-intercept? Yep. Good. So I'm going to go 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 24. So I get 4y equals 24. Divide both sides by 4. I get y equals... Is it 6, I hope? All right, what are my coordinates for my y-intercept? Can I graph that? Can I graph those 2 points? And what do I do to graph the whole line of that equation? After I put those 2 points, what do I do? Connect them with a line. Man, wouldn't that be easy if I could do that for every graph? Just get the 2 points and boom, connect them. That would be nice. I would say this. This is a nice one, especially for this equation and the one we did before. But there are some equations where this is not very nice. So there's got to be another method. Oh, yes, there is. On page 347, so go back. Sorry, you have to go back again. By the way, does anyone have questions on this, how to find the x and y intercepts? Are you guys okay with that? Pretty straightforward? Okay. I have a question that some of you may not know the answer. It's okay, but I'm going to throw it out there now. Do you know which one of these intercepts is the most important?
The x.
Okay, I have an x.
The y.
The y. And I heard they're the same. Neither of them. Both of them I get. Okay. Although in this case, both of them are, you can find them out the same way, and they're both equally nice. There's one of these that is the most important in graphing overall. It's the y-intercept. Y-intercept, okay? That's the big one. Why? Like, yes, y. But if you're asking the question W-H-Y, I guess we're going to find out right now. Can I answer that after we go to the next part? Because it might answer it for you when we look at this next form. Okay, if we can find the x and y intercepts, we're good. Now we're going to get into slope-intercept form. We haven't even gotten into that form yet. And does anyone remember what that form is? Nate does. Go ahead. Y equals mx plus b. That's a key form. In fact, We've looked at standard form. We've looked at point-slope form. And this is our third form, slope-intercept form. And which one do you think is going to be the easiest way for us to graph?
That way.
Yeah, which way is that way?
That way.
Slope-intercept form. Let me tell you this right now. Last year, did we look at standard form last year, if you were here?
No.
We didn't. Did we look at point-slope last year?
Yeah,
Nope. What did we look at? Y equals mx plus b, the slope-intercept form. This is the most important one. Then, Mr. Ray, why are we wasting our time with slope-intercept and standard form and all that? Point, slope, and standard? Well, it's because what happens is you only have parts. I don't always give you the info that you need for slope-intercept form, but you can figure it out from the other forms. Okay, here are some things you need to know. Keys to the slope-intercept form. What do you notice about this equation? Is any variable solved for? Y. You see y is by itself? It's solved for, okay? Y is always by itself. Okay, and then I see these two letters that may or may not be familiar. M. What does M always stand for? So please don't forget that M is the slope. It still is up here. The one that's newer, as far as this year, is B. And does anyone know what B stands for? This answers someone's question. Autumn? It stands for the Y-intercept. So remember how I asked you about the which one's most important? It's the Y-intercept. Because it is used in slope-intercept form, which is the easiest way to graph a line. The easiest way. And it's going to be the most useful from here on out. Okay. These are the two new parts. We okay with these? Okay. Let's look at example number 2. Watch. We'll see how this works. Example number 2. Look how nice this problem is. Let's use slope-intercept form. And it says, write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form if the line has a slope of 2/3 and a y-intercept of 6. Okay, so what's the slope in that problem? Yes, 2/3. What's the y-intercept? They say it's 6. By the way, you can either see it as one number, like one single number, positive or negative, for the y-intercept, or you can see it as an ordered pair. Either way, that's where it crosses the y-axis at positive 6. Okay, what's mx? Wow. What is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. All right, all you have to do in this problem is replace m with what the slope is and b with what the y-intercept is. So what's the slope?
Y is equal to 2/3.
What's the slope, Jack?
Y is equal to 2/3.
What's the slope? There you go. 2/3. That's what I replace m with. What's the y-intercept? 6. So it's positive 6. That's my answer. Okay? That's slope-intercept form. Is that pretty easy? Isn't that very nice? You know what they're going to do in this problem? Not today, fully. They gave us the slope and they gave us the y-intercept. You know what's going to happen sometime? Soon? They're not going to give you the... You have to find the slope. Is there any way for us to find the slope? There are many ways, depending on what they give us. 2 points, standard form, things like that. You can get the slope. And y-intercept we'll also be able to find since we did that up there in the previous example. Oh my, this is so stressful of how difficult this could be. Okay, look on page 350 again, and make sure you guys get this. Page 350, try out number 10. Write it in slope-intercept form when they give you the slope and the y-intercept. Number 10. I will be right back.
Harper and Walker. Yeah.
Sorry, it's a bit warm. Who can give me number 10 in slope-intercept form? And sorry, we'll get into standard form later, but I just want slope-intercept form. So who can give me slope-intercept? Emery. Y equals negative 4x plus 5. Okay, how in the world did you get that negative 4?
From the information related to slope.
Oh, cool. They gave me the slope. How'd you get 5, though?
They also gave me that equation.
Oh, you just put it in where it belongs. You guys okay with that?
Yep.
Because it gets tougher. All right. Oh, no. Back to 347. Yeah, I know. We're going back and forth. I get problems to give you some practice, and then I go back to the lesson itself. Who remembers what standard form is? Standard form? Maggie, can you give it to me? Okay, that's standard form. Standard form can be converted into slope-intercept form. Okay? Do you remember me saying in slope-intercept form, what did you solve for? Does anyone remember? Y. Okay, so you guys see this Y right here? I can solve for it. Does anyone know how to solve for what? This is a literal equation. That means only letters. How in the world am I going to solve for Y? Give me your first step.
Do you subtract the AX?
Yep, subtract capital AX from both sides. Get rid of that first. All right, I get BY equals C minus AX. It seems like I don't even understand what that is. Well, there are no numbers here. I understand that there are no values, but you can still do it. But then what would be my last, or I should say, what would be my next step? Harrison? Divide both sides by B. You're like, okay. And then I'm left with Y equals, do you guys remember I could split this up into fractions? How would I split this up into its two separate fractions? What would I get? Jenna?
Would it be
Y equals?
C over B
Yep. Yeah, and I wrote it like this because it's going to get it closer to slope-intercept form. All right, you guys see this? C over B, and then negative AX over B is right here. I'm going to do something here. You guys tell me if I'm okay with doing it.
Yeah.
Am I all right? Is that out loud? Is that slope-intercept form? Okay, let's see here. Y equals, so far so good. If this is negative A over B times X plus C over B. What would be my slope if I think this is slope-intercept form? What would be my slope? Negative A over B. I would agree with that. It's always the number in front or being multiplied by X. What would my Y-intercept be? Or what's my B value? C over B. Right? It's whatever C over B is. Don't know what it is. Okay with that? You're like, that's... you're done. You're done. Because I'm going to show you something here to make your life easier. And you can use it if you want. If you don't want to use it, fine. Do it the other way. But let's see if we can apply this here. Okay, look at example number 3. So turn the page. Just remember this right here. This is key. This is key. And this is key. Example 3. This will be the last type of problem you're going to do in this lesson today. Example 3. Find the slope and y-intercept of the graph 5x minus 3y equals 6. 5x minus 3y equals 6. Okay. Okay, 5x minus 3y equals 6. What form is that in? Standard form. You sure about that? I see a negative 3 right there. Yeah, you can have a -3. What cannot be negative in this standard form? 5 cannot be negative. All right, so we're good. Okay, I'm going to work this problem out in two ways. There's an easy way and there's a longer way, okay? All right, I'm going to show you the way to get this into slope-intercept form, because what are they asking me in this problem? What is the and the what's the y-intercept and the slope? I have standard form here, so what I'm going to do is this. Everybody solve for y. Go ahead and solve for y. Sir?
5 over 3x is 1 intercept.
On these, when you want to get the slope, you want to leave it as improper. Yeah. So 1 2/3 is the slope, but you tend to write it as an improper fraction or always as a fraction. All right, how many of you got all the way down here? Like you got to this part, you're good? How many of you did this and got this? How many of you went from here to here? All right, is that slope-intercept form?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so raise your hand. They'll just call it out. What's your slope? Yes. 5/3. What's your y-intercept? Yep. -2. You got it in slope-intercept, you have the point. You have those pieces of info, right? You guys okay with that? Let's do it a better way. Want to do it a better way, easier way? No, I like you. Okay, if this makes sense to you and you can get it, just do it, and you'll be fine. But there's an easier way if you remember that n equals -a over b, and the b value, or the y-intercept, equals c over b. You guys remember that? Remember I boxed it in, said this is important? Okay, what was that equation on this problem?
5x times 3y equals.
Okay, is this in standard form? Okay, if you have an equation in standard form, then you can find the slope and the y-intercept right from that standard form, right away, just by looking at it. Okay, guys, the slope is -a over b. So what's a in this standard form?
5.
Okay, what's the opposite of 5? -5 over, what's b?
3.
-3, right here. B is right here. So you got to find the opposite of A and put it over B. And what does this end up being? Is that my slope? I hope so. Okay. How do I find my y-intercept? Well, what's C?
It's C.
What's B? We said it was -3. And what do we get? Is that my B value? Look at that. Same thing. Okay. What is required to be able to do it the easier way is you got to memorize it's -a over b and c over b. And then you can find the slope and y-intercept like that. You guys see it? This one? It's -5 divided by -3 is going to be positive 5/3. Okay. Let's see if you really get how to do this. Okay, on page 350, number 13, I want you to find the slope and y-intercept. On number 13, on page 350. 2x plus y equals negative 4. I want the slope and y-intercept. I want what m is, and I want what b should be according to the standard form. There are two ways to do it. Solve for y, get it into slope-intercept form, or look at your negative a over b, enter c over b, and see if you can figure that out. Is that nice? It's very nice. I like it. Now, here's another application to help you out. By the way, how many of you got, this was number 13, right? Negative 2 and negative 4. How many of you got that? Okay. If I told you, instead of finding me the slope and y-intercept, if I told you, get me this in slope-intercept form, some of you might solve for y, and you can do that. That'd be fine. Actually, it'd be easier to solve for y. But if you had your slope and your y-intercept, you can immediately write it in slope-intercept form. Ready? So I'm just going to write in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 2x plus negative 4 or minus 4. That's your slope-intercept form, isn't it? Isn't that what you get? You guys see that? Slope is right here. Y-intercept's right there. That's your slope-intercept form. Oh my. You guys doing okay today? Was it warm or are you just tired from lunch?
I'm having a great day. I'm just tired.
Tired?
It's Monday. I'm so depressed.
My favorite day. Monday. Sorry?
I said I'm so depressed from the Auburn loss.
Oh, so like something over the weekend caused you a little bit of distress.
Every team that I wanted to win lost.
Yeah, that could be a bummer. All right, your homework tonight. 19 to 37 odd. Hold on.
Yeah, that was a bell.
Yeah, I don't think that's the bell. I think you still have some time.
I'm pretty sure that was
No, we're good. We still have time, guys.
How much time? What number is
19 to 37 odd. Oh yeah, we're good. 19 to 37 odd. Finally, I'll write it down. And 63 to 67. Okay, listen to me carefully because I'm trying to help you out right now. On 19 and 21, it says to do 3 things. I just want you to do A and C on 19 and 21. Don't do B. You can do B on the other problems that are later on. So listen again. I'm not going to say it again. On 19 and 21, do A and C. State the slope, write the equation in slope-intercept form. And you can use those lines that are graphed there to do it real quick. And then the rest of them, you just follow the instructions. Yep, any 2 points to figure out that slope. But make sure the points intersect right where the grid lines meet. So again, 19 to 37 odd. Let's still record.